Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And today we're discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 4.
We are, we're 2 away from the end here. We're
right
round in the corner. We're over the hump.
And we're not doing it alone.
Oh.
Joining us once again is Adam Frazier. Welcome, Adam.
Hey guys,
hello,
how's it going?
Adam.
Doing well. How about you?
Yeah, we're all good, I think. Ralph, how are you?
Yeah. Doing great. You like the new intro?
What's with the skip intro that we can see that I'm hoping the audience can't?
What's with the skip intro on Disney Plus?
Well, yeah.
Also true.
I think that's just like a generic thing that pops up on all their shows, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
there are some shows that I will always skip an intro, but none of the Disney Plus ones because they're all so short and like they're right there. You're in.
It's 5 seconds and it's totally distracting. And we're sitting there watching it, and I told Stevie, I'm like, I think I'm going to put a skip intro button on our show. It doesn't do anything. It's a graphic.
Great. Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Is this a graphic?
Yeah, that's
cool. What I should have done, and I'm wondering if I can do it, maybe I can't do it, is have it just pop up on our show intermittently.
This is all just the intro.
I was watching the Droids animated series a while back, and not that you would ever skip that intro because it's fantastic, but I did do it one time just to see what would happen, and it skipped, but only like not even halfway through the song. So like it's really worthless. Like I can't
remember what show it was. I had that with one of the Apple TV Plus shows as well. Like it was like there's still like a minute of this intro left after I skipped it. I just hit the fast forward twice. So but then you've got the opposite where you hit it on the Clone Wars, and then like you're like sometimes you're like 2 or 3 seconds into the episode already because it's so short. It's like, why is it there?
No, I don't know. I've been having an issue with HBO Max, where it'll skip the intro, but it also, after it skips the intro, it pauses it. And you're like, oh shit, now I got to go back and hit play. So, but I do that for like the Great Pottery Throwdown. Like I don't need to see that intro.
Yeah, that's true.
Peacemaker should have it disabled. But it's stupid. And I figured,
what did we do when we didn't have skip intro buttons, eh? When we had fast forward and rewind.
We went to the fridge.
That's a really good point. Yeah. It's when people got their snacks.
Yeah.
That would never happen on a 7:30 show. I had so much time to I'm like, I took my time to make my bed, and I had breakfast.
So in case anyone's wondering, I think like none of us have talked about this, but I think the reason that we're padding this out with so much intro skipping talk is that this episode was really short.
It was
half an hour when you take out the credits and the preview or the previously on. Like it was a short, brief episode. I thought
it was like when you would get those like a Mandalorian episode or a Book of Boba Fett episode that was like 36 minutes, and you're like, oh, why?
Yeah.
God. But
I mean, I feel like Ewan McGregor mentioned that this was originally supposed to be a movie, and the way it's sort of set up feels like a movie. And so when they converted it to television, they were probably like, okay, where are our cliffhangers? Where are we, dropping our stuff? And it's like, oh, this middle chunk is a little bit short.
What I say, I don't mind it. I quite like it because they tell the story in the amount of time that it needs. Like, I think you pad this out anymore and it will feel stretched out. Scenes will feel overly long and stuff. Whereas this, you get in, you get out, and it feels like a desperate escape or like rescue mission.
It did, yeah. The tension was really high in this one. And I think too, it acts as kind of a level set. It de-escalates what we saw in the last episode, which was like by far some of the most bonkers stuff that you can see in like a single hour of Star Wars. But yeah, it really had to like bring it back down for the next 2 chapters to like go off the scale again. I feel
that's it. You hit the halfway point with Vader, and then it's just like, okay, all right, chill. He's not going to be the primary antagonist throughout. Like, we got to build back up to him facing Vader again. I feel. But,
It's what's funny is, so when I did my Mandalorian show on Patreon, season 2, I had James. It was supposed to be a different guest on for the Filoni
yeah.
episode, and so I swapped out guest and brought in James because of his knowledge of like the Clone Wars series and the books and stuff.
Yeah.
Then when it came to the Book of Boba Fett, and we were looking for a guest for this show, we had Adam on for the Dave Filoni episode because he's an expert on, you know, Star Wars and Clone Wars and all the books and history and whatever. And so now I have you two on this episode, and it's like, I was like hoping, I'm like, oh man, I hope this is a really meaty episode because I really want to pick these guys' brains. But other than talking about the Jedi and the Amber, I have no real questions except for one big question.
Ooh, okay. All right, let's kick off with that then.
How do you fit 4 people? Granted, one of them is a kid into one snowspeeder.
3. I know 4. There was 4. No, it was 4.
4 with the pilot.
Okay, I thought about this. I've got a note about this. I was like, okay, so T-47's a rule, and it was amazing seeing them. I loved seeing like the airspeeders. The fact that they didn't have them fly off into space and they actually have them be like an atmospheric vehicle. Perfect. It's good. It's what they should be. And if you look, they don't have a rear gunner. So they've taken out the space where I feel like the Rebels like put in a back gun. I don't think that's always meant to be there. And then you can extend that back bit. So it's probably quite spacious back there. You maybe got like one rear facing, one front facing seat in the back.
There's also a compartment that opens on the side that is almost like a storage space or like a trunk or something. And it seemed like someone was going to jump in there as well. So, you know, the gunner jumps down the same area as the pilot. So them opening that side door, I was like, I guess Leia's getting shoved in the trunk. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. I was a small kid. I used to ride in the trunk all the time.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense. And the fact that like they said they use them for hauling like scrap and like sewage and stuff. It's like these aren't designed to be fighter vehicles. All right, they've got 2 cannons on them, but like they're not.
What doesn't?
They're not. Yeah, that's it. So they're not designed for like mass combat.
Yeah, and that was a nice little callback to, you know, Empire Strikes Back, where they mentioned that they're having trouble adapting the speeders to the cove, you know, that they're not necessarily cut out for, in the case of Hoth, that
cold. Yeah, that's it. Like I always like we refer to them as snow speeders because that's how we were introduced to them, but they're not. They're just air speeders. Like they weren't good on Hoth. Like they weren't as good anyway, not to begin with. And
I don't know if you recall prior to the series coming out, but there was some concept art that had leaked, and one of the pieces of concept art was like a sort of a desert or an arid climate looking hangar that had those speeders in it.
Cool.
And we were kind of wondering, are there going to be snow speeders in Kenobi? And so it was great to see that paid off.
That's really cool. I vaguely remember the piece of art, but I couldn't have pulled that it was a Kenobi concept art piece.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they did the same thing that they do with Mando and Boba Fett, where they showed you some of that concept art in the credits.
I don't know. Part of me's enjoying it because now when we get the art book, it'll be new. It'll all be like that's why I've not bothered with any of the Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett art books, because I'm like, well, I've seen all the key pieces by like just watching the show.
Well, what's fun about Star Wars is you don't see how the sausage is made. No. And one of the things with the concept art at the end, it sort of brings me out of it a little bit, and it being like, oh, it's just a show, and see, this is how it was made. See, here's the drawing we did.
You don't want Jackie Chan movie style outtakes through the credits.
I mean, Jackie Chan's are just movies that are, you know, they're movies.
Vader steps on his cape when he's trying to get out of the throne.
The whole thing of Star Wars is it takes you somewhere you haven't been before. And then just to see the sort of concept art immediately following, it's like, it's just the thing they made.
This is a production.
For me, it loses a little bit of luster. And I've sort of kind of quietly made a vow not to bring up fandom anymore. But I feel like there was some article the other day about Stranger Things and the Duffer Brothers talking about, like, because the thing that people were talking about, the Duffer Brothers were saying there's more effect shots in the final in the season finale than, you know, the rest of the season or something like that. And it's like, I feel like with Twitter, too many people are getting behind the scenes, getting knowledge about how these shows are made, and then questioning it and being like, well, why did they do this? And then demanding that it should be done a different way. And then it's leaving the concept art out of it. Leaving the concept art out of it. I think, like, listen, the Book of Boba Fett concept art book, the art of Book of Boba Fett probably isn't even been announced. Maybe it's coming soon. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's out yet. No.
But I mean, I got my Return of the Jedi art book, Art of Return of the Jedi. That was the first one I got, and that was probably 15 years later after Return of the Jedi, or it was like at least 10. And enough time had passed, you know, where I was able to just enjoy it as what it was.
And also with older ones like that as well, like it's pieces that you might not have ever seen before of like what has become iconic moments, not just something I watched a couple of weeks ago.
And also now it seems that there's so much pre-visualization done that the concept art is literally frames from the show you just watched, whereas those old Macquarie pieces are more mood pieces. You know, they're capturing
it's genuine concepts.
They're capturing a locale or a feeling or, you know, something like that. That's not.
It's things that like they go into them now and then they're like doing stuff that never got made because they couldn't do it or they didn't want to or they went a different direction that they're now drawing from that.
Yeah, and I like the classic blue. Seeing the classic blue titles over the Starfield, and it gives you time to sort of think about what you saw as opposed to just being distracted.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the intention, is that it's a little more of a serious, a little more of a focus show. Yeah.
And plus, you get to see the names easier.
Like Chase Hauser agrees with me here. It's like, but for this show, I'm all in for the art book. Like I'd love to get an art book for this one because there are going to be all these pieces. I'd love to see all the other concept art. I'm sure that the Jedi Fallen Order had a lot of Fortress Inquisitorius concept art, but I'd like to see what they did for the show as well. Like, I'm sure that there's new pieces.
Yeah. So where do we want to start here? Do we want to just start at the beginning and sort of work our way through it?
It's really tough because, like,
it's a pretty simplistic episode. It's the most simplistic episode of the bunch so far. It's not a negative, I don't think. It is like it's a rescue mission. It's
very much the Obi-Wan in the Death Star, like contained into one single
or on Geonosis.
I did think at the beginning, showing him in the Bacta tank, I was wondering, is this where we're going to get flashbacks? Like, did Book of Boba Fett introduce this idea of the Bacta dreams?
But I don't know. I mean, I expected it, like especially when he was getting flashes and Vader was getting flashes and stuff. I was expecting.
I still think it's coming, but
I think we're going to get something. Yeah.
I did like the cross cutting between him in the Bacta tank and Vader in the Bacta tank, and you know their respective, what they're going through there. I thought that was great.
It's a continuation of their fight. Like they're both having this mental battle, and like I don't know, I the way that it was cross-cutting, I sort of took it that they were connected through the Force, and that they were sort of still sparring.
Yeah.
So this is what I think. I think they were actually communicating the way that Luke and Vader did at the end of Empire Strikes Back. I think it could be a similar thing because they're both like, it's intercut that way, and maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi will be able to shut off that connection. And so the line, it's a presence I haven't felt since.
Yep.
So when Obi-Wan goes onto the Death Star, he reopens that connection as Vader, I'm here, come find me so that Luke can get the princess and save her.
Yeah, it's putting like a radar ping back out there sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's also, they show him sort of practicing using the Force again, and you do get the impression that they haven't spelled it out quite the same as the sequel trilogy, but there is an idea maybe that he has cut himself off from the Force to an extent because using the Force opens him up to being found by Inquisitors and stuff. So
that's exactly how I've taken it. But again, they've done it in a subtle way where it's like it's all there. but he's closed himself off, and he's like, he is sort of reawakening those things. It's been 10 years, and I think someone in our comments said it last week, where it's just like, it's like anything like that you have to train. It's if you don't use it all the time, you're gonna lose some connection to it. It's gonna take a while to retrain yourself. So as the bitter toy guy said, it's how Obi-Wan got his groove back. Like
absolutely,
he's getting there. Like he's found his mojo, and now he's just sort of retrain it.
Yeah,
I feel like that is really the only him getting his Force stuff back is great, but as far as this episode goes and where we end, it's almost as if you don't need this episode, because it's them in a ship escaping from the Inquisitor and Vader.
Yeah, if you needed to cut down some stuff, you could, because then like Leia doesn't get captured by Reva at the end, and then she's still with Obi-Wan. They both escape or something. Yeah.
I feel like I hate the term filler, but it feels a little bit like that, with the exception of Obi-Wan's growth.
Obi-Wan's growth, I think, is the key.
And I think
we don't know. There's also the stuff with Lola at the end. So
and sort of putting just another bump in the road of I think really tying up the points of how the Empire are going to find Jabim, because like you said with Lola, now there's a direct line there to we're going to get some sort of battle moving into the next couple of episodes. But we met Roken, the new character by O'Shea Jackson Jr., who mentioned he had a wife, and it sounded like she was Force sensitive, and the Inquisitors got her, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't Quinlan Voss, as some people had been sort of speculating, hoping and stuff. I didn't think it was ever going to happen, but I was hoping.
And I feel like this group that we're seeing, again, it really hasn't been spelled out, but it feels like we're seeing pieces of what's going to become Saw Gerrera's partisans.
The partisans. Right? I got exactly the same feel. Like they feel like even their cave setting, it feels like the partisans a lot.
And I think this is taking place sort of around the same time as Solo.
This is 5 years before. 5 years before A New Hope.
I know Solo jumps around a little there.
Yeah.
Because he's in the military for 3 years or whatever. But this group, Enfys Nest's group, you're gonna
all the different
Andor's group. It feels like we're really seeing patchwork of the rebellion coming together.
This is what I hope for Andor, is the Mon Mothma side of it, of that story, is her going, we need to unify. We saw a lot of it in Rebels, but like it's all these different factions, and it's an alliance. Like there are rebels out there, like Phoenix Squad were one, like, and all of this, like, but it's the Rebel Alliance comes together in Rebels, and like, shortly before Rogue One, really, like that is their first victory as an alliance.
So
I'm hoping that through Andor that we get a lot of that. I would love to see O'Shea Jackson Jr. pop up in Andor. I think he'd fit great.
Yeah, and Tala.
I mean, depending on how her story goes, but that would be very cool.
Yeah,
I thought for sure she was going to sacrifice herself this episode.
I did.
Yeah,
multiple times I thought, oh, she dead. Like she's not making it out of this. She was risky. Like she was very brave in the way that she was handling, like going through that checkpoint and everything. But it felt risky. She was in over her head.
Big Cassian energy, if you will.
Yeah.
But what was nice is it's not a Clone Wars character or a Rebels character. She's a new character as far as I know. She could have been in a book or something, but I like that she's brand new and we don't know her fate, so it adds tension to when she's standing there
with both of them, her and with O'Shea. Yeah.
And also the fact that Leia is sort of endearing herself to her and almost looking to her as like a blueprint for maybe what she might become, asking her like, does it hurt to pretend and things like that, I hope she lives.
I do.
I hope she doesn't bite the dust, but when she, obviously Reva is interrogating Leia, and we get sort of a taste of really almost the scene from Force Awakens where Kylo's trying to get into Rey's head and not making any progress. And I was thinking back to the original Star Wars when Vader says that, you know, Leia's resistance to the mind probe is, you know, considerable or whatever.
Yeah.
That she's very strong-willed and that she's not going to break under these. You know, what did she like asked her if this was a staring contest, which
loved it. She had so much sass. Like she is a 10-year-old version of what Carrie Fisher was doing in
absolutely. She's great.
One thing I noticed is that Reva refers to Ben as Obi-Wan in front of Leia. So Leia must know that Ben is also Obi-Wan, which
it sort of puts to bed that speculation that a lot of people have had that she's only ever going to know him as Ben, but no.
So this, I'm gonna say the recorded message in Star Wars is just a formal message.
And it's
referring to him as his Jedi name,
and it's also to absolve Leia of any wrongdoing, because when Vader, you know, picks her up, it's not like she's a known rebel sympathizer.
No.
Like that's
she is a member of the Imperial Senate.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. So her sending that message and saying, you served my father during the Clone Wars, it kind of keeps Leia out of the hot seat there. So
if they happen to intercept that message, she'd have plausible deniability. It's like, I'm asking for aid. We were getting boarded illegally right here.
Right.
Like, I am a member of the Imperial Senate. This guy did serve my father in the Clone Wars. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Like everything that she says in there could be denied, like as being a rebel.
And I don't know, Ralph, if you maybe noticed this in particular, but Tala's ship, like when she enters the Fortress Inquisitorius or whatever, her ship to me looks like the mini rig. I think it's like the ISP-6, the mini Imperial shuttle. It's missing the top fin.
Yes.
But the way the wings fold up into just a cockpit, it looked exactly like that sort of mini rig to me, which I enjoy.
I mean, we know that like all of the guys working behind the scenes are pulling from those sorts of things. It's great. Yeah, love that. What did you think? We jumped a little bit ahead. What did you think of Jabeam in general? I started rereading some of the old Clone Wars comics, and there's a big arc on Jabeam through there, like through the legend stuff. And
I couldn't get there. It is,
that's the one.
Yeah,
it's got the same sort of feel to it, doesn't it? Yeah.
If you take that top fin off, it looked like, and even like there were like joints, like where you could see the wings going up. It kind of looked like a toy. But Jabeam, I couldn't really fully get a sense of what the planet quite is yet. Like, obviously they're in sort of a cave.
Yeah.
So is it like a sinkhole planet? I remember it from the comics, but not too vividly.
Like, I think it was very rainy. It was very sort of subtropical, but like wet and dark is what I remember. So, I mean, having it in a cave makes a lot more sense to shoot, but I don't know. It just sort of, if anything, it felt like very set. It felt like a set more than...
It felt like the volume. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, they built these walls up and then there's the background. Okay. It was one of the first times that I was like, I can really see it in this now. Like,
I assume that when the Empire arrives, we'll get some nice aerial shots that show a little bit more of the planet and kind of where they're dropping down.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, we know that they normally love to show ships taking off and landing. So even that sort of thing, like taking off from a cave would be cool. Like, or them coming into land, like as they get back there, something like that would be nice, just to get a bit more of a feel for a planet that isn't just another cave. Because as you said, like it does link back to Saw and his partisans quite a lot. It's got that same sort of feel to it.
Right.
But yeah, it would be nice to see a little bit more diversity of planets.
And then
I was gonna say this is a nitpicky thing, and really I really don't care because it's Star Wars and it doesn't really matter. But I have a thing where I got you, Star Wars. I got you. You guys fucked up on this one. So Obi-Wan has the communicator, which almost alerts the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Right.
On both sides. Both of them don't know that there's a mute button.
Right.
Yeah, they don't turn it off. Yeah.
So what is Obi-Wan listening to when he's swimming and she's sending him directions? I assumed it was an earpiece, not a loud communicator that you wouldn't be able to hear underwater.
I mean, maybe when he puts his breather in, he's got like some little earbuds that he puts in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Use those outside of the water.
Yeah.
So the stormtroopers don't hear you.
Yeah.
Those communicators. Star Wars needs some sort of Bluetooth technology. Have you seen those communicators, by the way, from Galaxy's Edge?
No.
It's a Bluetooth speaker that you can use connected to your phone.
That's rad.
Literally, it turns your phone. You keep your phone in your pocket,
and
you can hold the communicator and talk into it.
That's awesome. Is it the little white with the black rings and stuff like?
Yep.
That's so cool. I want one.
Yep.
I did like seeing the breather again and just those callbacks to sort of the
Obi-Wan swimming. Swimming like underwater, going into somewhere. Like it's a nice little nod. And
we got some shots of like some very exotic creatures underwater there.
Did a lot of animals under there. Like there's that starfish attached to it and stuff. It was cool. At first I thought, is that a Dianoga that we're seeing? But no, it wasn't that big. A baby one maybe. When he popped up out of the water and took out that guard, I was half expecting him to put on a stormtrooper costume. I thought we were going to get Obi-Wan in disguise action figures to go with the other two. But no,
we did get him as an officer later. Yeah,
later on we do, and I love those Imperial like trench coats. Like we saw them in Solo. Yeah. Like they look cool. And I love. Oh wow, that's very cool. So yeah, audio listeners, awesome. Ralph's just brought up the Imperial communicator Bluetooth. That's very cool. I like it. Yeah. We saw. I was really hoping that we'd get like Leia on Obi-Wan's shoulders with the jacket on and the hat, like because I love a two people in a coat gag. It's great.
Sure, of course, yeah.
The tallest Imperial officer.
They put her in a gonk droid or something, you know.
That'd be great.
Oh, that would have been great.
She's a really big mouse droid.
But so before they escape, Obi-Wan goes down into the dungeon of horrors and discovers the sort of the tomb of Jedi encased in sort of like what looked like amber.
It did. It looked very Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Yeah. Which brought up some interesting ideas. And as far as Clone Wars connection goes, we see Cara Sinube, the yak-faced Jedi who was in Clone Wars. In the High Republic.
He's in the High Republic as well. He's been around for hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really recognize any of the other Jedi. Did you, James?
No, there was. I did check. There was a few people talking on Reddit about one of them potentially being not Jack Coleman, the reverse of Jack Coleman, Taj Mancol or whatever.
Coleman Trebor?
No, not Coleman Trebor.
Coleman Trebor is dead, right?
That was Attack of the Clones. It's the one who's on the council in Revenge of the Sith. Like the eyes are out here and the mouth's up here.
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
Is that? I think that's the Coleman. Is it the one where the Coleman Trebor head got turned upside down, literally?
Oh, possibly. Yeah, it could be. I mean, the fact that it's still Jack Coleman name, like, yeah.
There was one.
But again, I don't think that we don't get a close up on that guy. So
there was one design of someone that was wearing almost like it looked like a block on their head. You know, like it was like a very square hat. And something about that design stuck out to me as like almost something from the expanded universe, but I can't quite place.
One of them looked a lot like the dignitaries, the Imperial dignitaries. But I mean, maybe he got pissed off at those because, like, again, I don't think all of those were Jedi. Like they certainly weren't all dressed as Jedi.
It looked like a trophy case kind of vibe.
So, it was like these are the people that we've captured. Like captured and killed.
Right, and for what reason? Because we're under the impression that
because they're sick.
That the Emperor was taking Force sensitive users as well as Jedi, and we had assumed they're taking them to Camino, like in the opening scenes of the Bad Batch, where they're taking Jedi into the cloning facility. Mm-hmm. This isn't like part of the Emperor's plan. This is like the Inquisitors feels like it's a Vader thing.
They're under Vader's control for sure,
and they're in the Mustafar system.
Mm-hmm.
So why is Vader keeping these people in amber?
I was wondering if the amber was just a visual suggestion to say we're doing some experimentation here, you know, because if you
be.
think about the amber in Jurassic Park, you think of the needle going in and extracting the
It's
DNA.
a visual cue that we all know.
Right. And so I was kind of wondering, like, is this part of the experimentation? Like, are they keeping them sort of, are they even dead? Are they like suspended animation kind of thing?
That's
are
it.
they taking DNA from them? I mean, I have no idea, but it was interesting that it was clearly different from Carbonite, sort of what we've seen as far as that goes.
Or just like dead trophies, like stuffed on the wall, like we've seen at like Jabba's palace and things like that. Like that, it seems like the bodies at least are being preserved, even like whether they're dead or alive. Like I think they're dead, but something is preserving them. Like but I mean, I don't think we're gonna see like Mount Tantis or Wayland in this one. But we did get that in the end of Bad Batch, so it'll be interesting to see like if this all does link in together. It wouldn't surprise me if there are some Bad Batch links, but they'll do that in Bad Batch, not in this.
And they really, that's a thread that hasn't been dropped in any of the new Star Wars, you know, like the cloning experiment ideas in Mandalorian. Obviously Boba Fett's a clone. Bad Batch heavily factors with cloning and experimentation. From what we saw at Celebration of Mandalorian season 3, it looks like the Dr. Pershing character has a bigger role, and so there's going to be more experimentation stuff going on. So it would not shock me. Rise of Skywalker, and so
it really feels to me that like they're using Bad Batch now, like they're telling their own story, sure, but for the grander canon stuff, like they're putting a lot of the connecting threads in that show, which is cool. I mean, you've luckily got a nice early copy of Lords of the Sith, but I haven't read it. I'm looking forward to it, and I will be doing a mini episode when I have. But I don't say anything, but there's potential that there is some stuff with the Palpatine clones and stuff in that book, because we know that Ochi of Bestoon's in it, and that there's all of this stuff. So
like no spoilers, but like that Shadow of the Sith, which comes out soon, it comes out this month, is the most fun I've had reading a Star Wars book since like the 90s EU boom. And it felt to me like the sequel trilogy's Shadows of the Empire. Like it has all these characters that, you know, also new characters that fit into the story that's already happening.
Great.
And I just think it's done so well. And if I had my way, there'd be a video game, there'd be a soundtrack, there'd be a comic book. You know, it would be a full-fledged.
Knowing that it's got enough for all of that is really exciting.
Shadows.
I want a toy line. Like I want the whole deal. Yeah.
So I mean, we've got Shadows of the Empire for the original trilogy. We've got, I feel like Darth Plagueis sort of fits in that slot, at least for me, for the prequel trilogy, because it connects like all three movies. And then this for the sequels is great. Brilliant.
I was telling someone, I was like, Darth Maul, Shadow Hunter, Shadows of the Empire, Shadows of the Sith. Why do all
something there in
Star Wars books have shadows in them? But,
all these books that sort of tie things together that have maybe like the bad guy sort of leaning. It's great.
So then Obi-Wan gets into the fortress, finds the Jedi. He's trying to get out. The glass cracks underwater, which that was I think that's a sequence from Jedi Fallen Order. Right?
Fallen Order. It's the end. Yeah. Like Ralph, you never finished it, did you?
What's that?
Jedi Fallen Order. The video game.
I've never played it.
Oh, okay.
Not a single.
Oh, wow.
It was Battlefront 2 story mode.
That's
where I couldn't get past the droid thing.
That's right. So yeah, in like Fortress Inquisitorius and the planet and everything they were first introduced in that video game. And at the end of it, in similar sort of way, the character you're playing, Cal Kestis, he's captured there, and there's an escape attempt, and I don't want to say anything. The game's old now, but you're escaping from there, and it starts to flood and everything. Like it's very similar. Like the glass.
I think actually
breaking.
Vader has to do the Force thing to stop.
I think so. Yeah.
So that's an interesting parallel.
And timeline wise, that was 5 years before this. So it does beg the question: like, do they have a counter in there somewhere? Like X amount of days since the last flooding down in the lower levels. When Obi-Wan he obviously sort of pushes the water towards them as it cracks, but then he runs the opposite direction. the force that it was coming and like where it was behind him.
And there was no water that made it through.
There was nothing made it through.
I was like,
thing. Come on, at least a bit should be like right there with him.
Yeah, a puddle. Give us something.
I liked seeing the doors buckle. That was cool. But there should be like some coming through right at the end.
Yeah.
That would be my nitpick of the episode. But again, it makes no difference.
It doesn't. I'm gonna say that this is a prediction on the making of this show, that it hasn't come out yet, but I have a hunch that the saber prop that they're using, which I don't have here, I'll use the Luke one. The saber prop is constructed way more heavy than a regular lightsaber, because when Ewan McGregor's holding it, and I know it could be acting, but the way he's holding it and the way he's using it feels really heavy in his hands. If you watch the scenes again, it looks like he is like physically trying to lift it, and it's hard to do. I seriously think it's weighted, and I don't know. That's like probably the one thing that I bet will come out and it'll be a thing.
I mean, they shoot now with like essentially the Force Effects lightsabers, don't they? Or like a higher tech version of that. So it's gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be heavier than the prop sabers that he was using in the prequel trilogy, where it's super lightweight for fighting.
Yeah, because the prop sabers then were probably molded out of there were like rubber ones, were like very lightweight ones that they could fight with. So yeah, there could be something.
I think it's a mixture of that, and as you said, I think there is an acting choice in there as well, and direction, because he's getting his groove back, but he's not fully there yet. He's not like he's not General Kenobi.
But if you watch the footage, it seems like that was a choice to make.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the Darksaber being so heavy and hard to use. Like, if that's going to be a thing where if you need the Force to help guide you with the lightsaber, and that's why it's a Jedi thing. I feel like that's something that they could have done in the props to convey that. And
it's also butting up against the sort of the lightsaber fights that we saw in the original trilogy, where there was a lot more two-handed, and it was very much more of a samurai thing, where it was heavier. Yeah. So they may be trying to connect those two ideas visually, but I don't think we're going to see the rematch of the century that's still to come. I don't think it's going to be the sort of fight that the Revenge of the Sith fight was, or the Darth Maul fight was. It's going to be have to be different.
I think it's got to be somewhere in between. Like, Obi-Wan's got a bit more finesse, but Vader's still going to be a brute at this point. Yeah. He's not going to be Anakin Skywalker, hero of the Republic. He's going to be Darth Vader, this tank essentially, who's just going to come in swinging.
And we might get a lot more like Force sort of struggles.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting, especially if Obi-Wan's like ramping back up.
Yeah.
I like that Obi-Wan exited the bacta tank before he was fully healed.
Yeah,
which also is showing that he's weak. He doesn't have
still not 100%.
His regular arm strength, let alone a robot arm like Vader.
That's it. Yeah.
And I'm really bummed that he didn't get a robot hand.
That was your chance.
Adam,
that was your chance right there.
I think it's George Lucas's The Star Wars script where Obi-Wan is like hitting a door and his hand starts breaking and it's revealed that he has a robot hand.
Oh yes.
So I've been this whole time I've been like, I hope they're
gonna bring that back
and give him a robot hand underneath like
that's
a skin, like a synthetic skin, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
And so then the last real major thing, I guess, to talk about after the tunnel and all that is the speeders show up, save the day. And then we get the scene of Vader just being so pissed. He's like storming down the hall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's Hayden Christensen in the suit or not.
I think it is.
It could be. The voice, interestingly enough, sounded like a modulation of Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones's voice.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week, didn't we? Where it's I think
it has Hayden's cadence.
Yeah, they're getting performance from Hayden, and then they're using that performance with the deepfake voice thing of James Earl Jones.
Fascinating.
But yeah, you're getting the delivery and the cadence, as you said.
But I like it. I really like it because this is a bridge between Hayden Christensen and David Prowse and James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
But it's like perfect. Like, yes, let's futz with these two things. Like, this is where the character is at this time, and so let's have it sound like Anakin turning into Darth Vader. So I like that they have sort of Hayden's performance, but James Earl Jones's voice, because it's how it should be. It should be him, evolving into the Vader we know. And so even if we're getting glimpses of Hayden Christensen in there, perfect, because that's where we should be in the story. So anybody who has any complaints about like this sort of hybrid thing, like, no, this is if you're morphing a picture of Hayden Christensen and morph it into a picture of Darth Vader, we're in the middle of that morph, like halfway between that transition, and do it audibly. Like, I'm sure there's long discussions with Matthew Wood and the sound team on how to do this. And I think I like this conclusion. It's a way for Hayden Christensen to finally be Darth Vader and transitioned into that character that we know from episode 4.
I agree. And like, we know that it's like he's not doing the fights and everything like that, but no one's doing their own fights, especially if they're in a suit. So it's nice that even if he is just there in the same capacity as, say, like Mark Hamill would be, and giving notes on the performance and the delivery, that's great, because there is a lot of him coming through, and it's good to see. It definitely flows.
There's a moment in the interrogation where Reva mentions that to Leia that they took everything away from her. Yeah. I'm assuming that means the Jedi.
More and more hints that like she feels personally abandoned. Rick's brought up a really good point here. Did Reva think that Obi-Wan was dead, or was she bluffing to break Leia? I took it that she was bluffing.
I did too.
I didn't think that she ever thought that Obi-Wan was dead at this point.
Why let him go when Vader was so close?
Who was going to let him go? Why'd Reva let him go?
Yeah.
Orders.
Well, I mean, the speeders.
At this point. The speeder. Oh, at this point, yeah. Who knows? Like, again, I think she wants to be the one to capture him. She doesn't want like fifth brother there. She's got her own agenda, definitely.
My thought too is, in a scene like that, because they established that there's TIE fighters and ships in the hangar and stuff, but knowing, that the speeder is going to get on this larger ship and then light speed away, by the time they scramble a fighter, they're going to be gone anyway. So I can see
she's already planted a bug.
Do it,
but what's great is Leia is going to notice they let us escape. It's the only reason for the ease of our escape.
That's very true.
Go. And so this is something she's seen before.
Yeah.
So
once,
there should be that place should be swarming with TIE fighters.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of connections with this episode and episode 4 with like Leia, especially. I mean, the fact that this is the 4th episode as well, I've just like, there's a lot of her capture had a lot of like echoes of her capture on the Death Star.
Even the comlink sitting on the desk, like the insert shot.
Everything about it. And it was done well because it wasn't like overt. It was done in a natural way.
And also very nice for like the callbacks to the Death Star rescue and the way that Obi-Wan, as soon as they get there, he's like, I'm on my own path. You guys, get Leia. I'll handle this. It's like he's used to sort of sneaking around these Imperial facilities and,
Yeah, it's not his first rodeo. But it's a case of he knows. It's not that he doesn't care about rescuing Leia. It's that he knows that this is how this has to go down.
Yeah. He has to confront Vader.
That's really why he's there.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Force is telling him that no, now's the time here, and it's so that you can save not just Leia or not just Luke. It's the both of them. You've brought them together. He's been the catalyst to bring them together, and now he has to face Vader. And it's essentially the two father figures to both of them now at this point, as they're escaping, are going at it. It's really interesting.
And on that note of the father figure, like the last shot of the episode, Leia sort of holding Obi-Wan's hand, that was a great moment because it's Leia showing him compassion, and it's it's Obi-Wan reconnect, like we've been saying, him reconnecting with the Force and sort of getting his groove back. That's also the first time that someone has probably touched his hand in 10 years, and
at least in a tender way, not in a
that's shown him that compassion, and so that's also opening him up and getting him ready to confront Anakin again, because you know that when they do meet up again, he is going to try to convince Anakin to come back. You know, that there's still, whether he mentions Padme or however that rolls out, you know, like there's still light in you.
Yeah.
Because that's going to tie in later in Return of the Jedi when he tells Luke, you know, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, that kind of connection. So, what do you think's coming next? I mean, what's happening next episode?
I think next episode we've got to sort of see a bit more of a downfall. I think, they maybe get back to Jabeem. Roken was adamant about not leaving, that place was so important that it was all set up and that everything went through there. Because they said, like, we need to leave, we're burnt essentially, but he was adamant about not. So I feel like there's got to be an attack, there's got to be some sort of either like quick evacuation or a massacre of those guys, unfortunately, possibly. And then from there you got to lead into Vader and Anakin, or Vader and Obi-Wan again. Like, it's got to get there.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. I'm in for the ride. I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah. I think, you know, obviously they're going to go back to Jabeem. Obi-Wan's going to finish healing. He's probably going to do some meditating.
Possibly.
And
that's
where we get some
Qui-Gon.
flashbacks. Qui-Gon. He's going to have to sort of come up with a game plan of how he's going to handle Vader. Because I think, too, probably the Empire is attacking, and now they're going to split up. Someone, Tala or Roken or whoever, might take Leia and try to get back to Alderaan, get her out of the issue.
I've been saying it all along. I think that Vader needs to presume Obi-Wan dead. The Empire needs to presume Obi-Wan dead by the end of this season.
Yeah.
So that he can return.
If we're only getting one season, which there's been that rumor that's going around too, and I don't quite know how to reckon with that. But.
And again, like, that came up, I think, just in the last week, that there is a chance of a second season, and that they've had to go back and change the end of this season to leave it more open.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but
I don't know. I was fine with it being an event season, like an event series, like 6 episodes in and out.
Because I can see the arguments for doing a second season, like you want to do more with Reva's character or what have you, but I just don't know what the Obi-Wan story is, because you either have to tell a story that's self-contained to Tatooine, which everyone will complain about, because apparently everyone hates Tatooine except for me. And then, or you take him off planet again, and then that creates more issues, right? Like, oh, he's leaving Luke behind again. So it feels like a lose-lose in terms of Obi-Wan. However, if you wanted to do something sort of like how Book of Boba Fett is the next chapter of The Mandalorian, where you did a second chapter and you called it Darth Vader, and you can allow a shot or two of Obi-Wan in it, but it is really more focused on that Reva, Inquisitor, Vader deal. You could even have Palpatine show up. You could bring back CGI Tarkin. You know, you could do more there in that space.
There is a lot you can do in just the few years between, say, this and Rogue One.
Yeah, this is Rebels. You know, you could kind of make a connector there. But I just don't know what the Obi-Wan story is, unless they start deciding to, hey, we're going to adapt some of this stuff from the animated series into live action. You know, if they wanted to go down that Darth Maul route and do the Twin Sons deal in live action, that would be really crazy, but I just don't see that happening.
I don't think we need it. Like, I think that episode of Rebels is so perfect that it's like, if people want to know what happened there, then they can go and watch it. It's there.
Yeah, they should just go watch it.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I also think that the only people that really care about Darth Maul are the people that have watched Clone Wars and Rebels.
That's true.
Like, I don't think that I think it confused people in Solo more than anything else, because they're like, hang on, who is that? And oh wait, that's that guy. He's dead, right?
And I'm sort of worried that the same thing is going to happen with the Inquisitors, because you've introduced them here sort of in the midst of them existing. And then as we know in Rebels, you know, Grand Inquisitor's going to die. A couple more of them are going to die. And then they're nowhere to be found in the original trilogy. But I feel like we're not getting that part. So
we're not getting the sort of the
wonder...
conclusion of them, are we? No, like that'd be an interesting way to, whether you do it in a show called Vader or you have a Inquisitors led show.
Yeah.
And that you could see their downfall possibly.
I'm ready to move past episode 9. Let's get into new timeline.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I guess High Republic. I just want to get so separated from this, 45 years of Star Wars timeline that we seem to be stuck in.
That's going to be the test.
I'm ready to move on. And I think and I hate to say it, but like, start up the new one with Broom Boy. I think I mentioned it on a couple episodes ago where you just like, it's an established character. Just show how everything's changed since the defeat of Palpatine.
Yeah.
And have it just be like this crazy, like them trying to rebuild, and then have Force sensitive users out there and they have no like way to know how to use that power. They don't understand that power. They're kind of lost in the universe. Like, just start moving forward. No more stormtroopers.
Cool.
No more. Create a whole new.
That's it. You could call Broom Boy Kip Durran. You could we've got a Corran Horn now. We've got a Corran from this. Corran Horn, Ralph, went on to be in the X-Wing books. He is Force sensitive. He becomes a Jedi under Luke's tutelage. It's all legend stuff now, but you can adapt and change that. And the fact that he's going to Corellia, we saw his family name in the last episode. So they've hinted at and teased Corran and Corran Horn and that whole thing. And again, like, he's like 10 years old here. So by the time we're post episode 9, he's going to be an adult.
I think this is a big discussion.
Heir to the Empire. That's what I want. Heir to the Empire, but make it episode 10. And just is who's governing the galaxy.
Right.
The Hotzian system is gone. Palpatine's gone. There's nothing there. Like, is that something a pilot like Poe Dameron can like pick up the pieces and do? Probably not. Like,
he's not a political leader, is he?
But let's go. Let's start moving forward. Let's maybe give independence to all the systems.
Lord, Chancellor Billy Lord.
Yeah. But I'm much more interested in seeing the fallout, because we had such a big gap between Return of the Jedi and Episode 7 that we never really got to see how the Republic, came back into power.
We're really starting to see bits of that. Yeah,
we're getting that. Like, it was teased at and hinted at a few times in books and stuff. But while the trilogy was coming out, the sequel trilogy was coming out, they sort of steered clear. But it is now. It's through like the Mandoverse essentially is filling that timeline. Yeah, definitely.
But it's a different. It's not about the state of the galaxy, which I like, because it's just about gangsters and bounty hunters and stuff like that. Like,
and then I feel like Ahsoka is going to be definitely like continuing Rebels, but in that time frame as well. So that's going to be the Thrawn stuff. Let's get
past Rise of Skywalker. I'm curious to see where that goes. Adventures, make them adventures. Just, it doesn't have to be all political, but have Broom Boy coming to age and have him be the new sort of Luke Skywalker, and then see what adventures he goes on. And then while that's going on, he could be caught in the middle of this political thing where the universe is trying to, fix itself.
At whatever stage of production or not in production or planning that Rogue Squadron is, there's been talk with that's going to be post episode 9.
And I don't want to be super negative on Rogue Squadron, but I've been worried about that aspect of it from the beginning, because as a movie that very much sounds like a standalone adventure, it has so much heavy lifting to do post episode 9. Like if the First Order's gone, like, why are we training pilots? Who are they fighting? So you immediately have to establish new villains. You have to establish that new government. Who's in charge of the Republic? Are they gonna shell out the money and get Oscar Isaac and these guys to come back? Because if not,
Dennis Lawson.
Can we bring Thrawn back in?
I mean,
like
he's
if we
going to be
do
Rebels, surely. In Ahsoka.
Yeah, he's going to be.
He could be the guy. He could be the guy that survived Exegol easily.
And if he survives the Ahsoka series, you set him up to then he goes away, comes back with the Thrawn Ascendancy, like with the Chiss. Make the Chiss the bad guys. There you go. It's already set
I very much believe that Ahsoka, Mandalorian season 3, 4, Skeleton Crew. I truly believe that stuff is building to a climactic crossover event, and my prediction is that it will be Disney Plus's first original Star Wars movie.
I could see it.
And that movie will essentially be Heir to the Empire because the pieces are falling into place. You have young Luke. You're going to have Thrawn back. You have Boba Fett that could slide into this sort of Talon card role.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You're putting these pieces together. You're going to have Ahsoka there. Will they pull out a young Leia, a young Han? You know, I truly think that the Mandoverse is going to go in that direction. And then for the foreseeable future, they will focus on Thrawn, and I'm sure Gideon will be by his side or something. We'll have those guys.
Gideon's essentially going to be his Captain Pelion sort of situation. So, and then you take the romance away from it, and then you could have a similar thing with Luke and Ahsoka, with Luke and Mara Jade. You know, you've got all these elements of there. There's connection between Ahsoka
why not?
And
and so
we have like what, three seasons of Andor at least?
Two of 12, I think. So 24 episodes total.
12, yeah.
And I just want it to be all done. I want this 45 years of Star Wars to be wrapped up. We got the story. Let's start moving forward. And then with like the success of Top Gun Maverick, I'm guaranteeing you that Lucasfilm is like, okay, we need to amp up. If we're going to do this squadrons thing, the Rogue Squadron, like people are clamoring for this stuff.
Let's go. It's good and bad because it sets the bar so high, but it also shows them that there is an audience for this right here. Like there are people that want this sort of film. It doesn't need to be the deepest
put Tom Cruise in it.
Why not?
I'd
Miles Teller, maybe? Give Miles Teller as Gavin Darklighter. There you go. He can keep the mustache.
But so then my other thought, because I too think that they need to move out of this period, but I think they're a little leery after the sequel trilogy of how to do that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Star Wars is always about jumping forward or back to a new era and then filling in the gaps. So to me, they either need to go 1,000 years in the past or like 100 years in the future. Mm-hmm. And that way you don't have to immediately answer questions about Rey.
You've got a long lead time.
You can come back.
I say 10 years.
So you're talking like Knights of the Old Republic era or Legacy, like the old
Knights of the New Republic.
Whatever. Right, perfect.
I mean, but I think the key and the gateway character here is Grogu, because you've introduced a character that can live 900 years and he's only 50, and we've only seen him as a baby. Everybody loves him. This is sort of his origin story. Mm-hmm. And depending on where his character leaves off in the Mandoverse, you know, like, is he going to become Mandalore? Is he going to be the guy that unites Mandalorians and Jedi because he actually walks the path between both of them? You know, you can take that character and jump 200, 300 years into the future where he's in his prime. Yeah. And he's like, you know, he's putting together a new council, and you can explore a whole new galaxy and timeline there. So I think, and you know, the other thing with Grogu, not to sound entirely cynical, but you don't have to worry about a contract. You don't have to worry about paying Grogu.
No, you know? We don't even have a voice for him yet. Like there's nothing. Yeah. Like you don't even need to worry about casting anyone. You don't need a Frank Oz just yet.
He's a character that can live 900 years, and they have full control over him. And so I think he's really
an original Disney creation as well. Like yeah.
Let's move forward. I'm so ready to move forward. I
love this series, but I love the High Republic so much, but I'm fine with it staying in like books and comics and stuff. We're going to get the Acolyte, which is going to be sort of in that era. They've said that some of the design work, it sounds like they are going to be going with more of the aesthetic of the High Republic, which is cool. And that would be nice for people like me who love those books. But you don't need. I don't want adaptions of Light of the Jedi. I don't want to see those characters necessarily. I've got them in my mind. Like I can.
Well, and that's the other interesting thing because Star Wars considers itself one continuous story, and once something is a book or an animated series, they rarely ever retouch it. They're not out there doing adaptions of things,
which I like.
Yeah, so that's sort of made me curious about certain periods in time where they have been so focused with novels and comics and things, because to me it's almost like, what other stories are there to tell there? It's, like all the stuff that they've done with Kira in the Crimson Dawn series is cool. And it's great that she's getting all of that development.
I think it writes her out of film and TV.
But what do you do with a series of Kira? It sort of tells me that, well, they might not necessarily have anything in the works for that right now. So
unless that does set up something of her in the Mandalorian time frame, the post Return of the Jedi time frame,
I'd love that.
It'd be cool to see her pop up as again like a crime lord in a Talon Card type role.
Landor or Andor.
Yeah, I mean,
Landor definitely sounds like a He-Man character.
She'd be a bit young.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
in Andor, I think, but
yeah.
It would be cool to see her pop up there, but if we don't, they're telling enough of her story between Empire and Jedi at the moment. But yeah, it really between those films, like between the original trilogy, they've definitely just covered that with comics. Like they don't need to worry about it. Like we know every day that happened with Han, Luke, and Leia. It seems like at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Right.
I would actually sacrifice a Solo 2 to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be cool to see again.
Or even High Republic, I think would be fine. From what I hear, it's really good.
It's great.
I think a nice High Republic series would be fine.
I'm really curious what the Acolyte's going to be and how High Republic heavy that's going to be, or if it is going to be that tail end leading more into the prequels.
And the rumors, I don't know if they're true, and who knows how development goes at Lucasfilm these days. It feels like things are really sort of in flux a lot. But my understanding is that the Taika Waititi movie is not even a High Republic or an Old Republic story, but it sounds like it might be about the very first Jedi that ever lived.
Wow.
So I don't know. Again, I don't know how true that is, but to me, and even if you looked at the logo that they showed, which was very like Stone Age sort of style,
like Land of the Giants. I love it.
Yeah, or like Life of Brian is what I got. Like, yeah,
I definitely got the impression that, hey, we're introducing all of these old Jedi temples like Tython and Octo because we're going to go back and tell that story.
That's really interesting.
So
different.
And also putting a line in the sand to say, okay, here's a new establishing point, and we're going to work from here.
Everything
from
goes
Old
forward.
Republic to High Republic to etc. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. Rick just asked here, will she show up in the Lando series? That'd be a great spot. If
will there be a Lando series?
If it happens, yeah.
I mean, Kathleen Kennedy sort of basically put the cards all on Donald Glover recently in an interview where she was like, he's really busy. We want to do it. We're ready to go. Basically, we're ready to start ramping up when he can give us a definite time.
Ready.
I'm always ready. Donald Glover like dances to the beat of his own drum. He's gonna do it when he wants to do it.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of respect for that. But it
could be a Ewan McGregor thing where he's just waiting to be like, you know what? Enough fans are talking about how much they love Solo. Like people are finally coming on board with the love of Solo.
And maybe he wants to give it the space from that, like from whatever he wants to do. Yeah. So
there's so much great Lando stuff in the Shadow of the Sith book. It's like that's almost like as a primer to getting people into more Lando stories because it's done really well.
Between that and Last Shot, I feel like they have tackled Lando not often, but when they have, they've done it really well.
Yeah,
with the canon novels.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah, I'm excited about Shadows of the Sith. Definitely. When I've read it, maybe we'll have to get you back on, Adam. You and I can do a mini episode talking about it or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cool.
Oh, that'd be great.
Anything else about this episode though of Kenobi before we get there? I had little something. I thought that when Reva was calling out Tala about her being a spy, I thought it was really smart of her to be like, "Yeah, I am. I've spent years working on this." Ed joining us from Canada at the moment. Ed's working on something in Canada, so that's weird. But yeah, I thought that was really smart of her. I liked the way that she played that, and then it led to a really good Imperials and First Order love to yell traitor, because when Reva appears behind them, it's always just the traitor. It's great. Yeah, love it. That was all I had. That was the only other little bit that I had.
Yeah, I have no notes. Adam, I'm going to pop this up so folks can find you.
Ed asked briefly, what's the age difference between Billy when he shot Empire and Donald Glover? I looked this up recently. It's getting close. But also Donald Glover looks a lot younger than Billy Deaver did. Like 30.
We all do, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like early 40s in 1980 was a lot older than early 40s in 2020.
Hard living, drinking Colt 45s.
Absolutely.
Put some age on you.
Yeah.
Adam, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Not only for joining us, but for this guy right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wanted to say it was great finally
awesome.
meeting you and Stevie at Celebration. It was definitely
it was fun, and we couldn't get into the official shop. You got in and was kind enough to not only find this, but just to give it to me. I'm 100% willing to pay for this, but no, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it looked like a bomb went off in the Celebration store. I mean, there were just like cardboard boxes filled with shirts. People were rummaging through them. Like in Force Awakens, when the TIE fighter crashes and there are immediately people on top of it tearing it apart. That's what the Celebration store was like. Ripping through stuff all over the place. So I'm glad I was able to get
it. Yeah, Celebration, it was very overwhelming. Listen, next Celebration is less than 10 months away. Like, I don't know if I can do that.
This is what's funny. This is what's funny is James is going to go to this one. And I'm not going to speak for you, Ralph, but I don't think I'm going to make it to the next one. So I know that's how it goes.
One thing that's going to help me get there is if we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That was almost so smooth. Almost so smooth.
God, I feel like looking at our stats, and this sounds boring, but essentially we get one new follower a day. If you look at the sort of like basic thing.
Yeah.
So we'll hit 1,000 in 2 years. I'd need that to be a little bit quicker. So I would love it. I would absolutely love it if everybody shared the show. I'm thinking when we do hit 1,000, we'll create a Patreon specifically for live action Star Wars.
Yeah.
And we can do bonus content there, but we got to hit 1,000. I mean, we are rising in the ranks of iTunes though.
Cool.
Awesome.
So
thank you to everyone who's rating and leaving reviews and stuff. Continue to do that, please.
Yeah, and then make sure you're also subscribed to the YouTube channel. Even if you don't watch us, you can still hit the like button.
Just click play and walk away, Yeah,
that's what Mark Vibber did that earlier, because Mark Vibber hasn't watched the episode, so he just threw it on.
That's hilarious.
He says he's watching the stream with the sound off until I can watch the episode this evening. Have a great show. He's doing it right. I'm assuming you also hit the like button, because why wouldn't you? It's so easy.
It's right there.
It's like, how many clicks do you do on any given day on your device? Like, it's just one more.
Yeah.
Just hit that like button.
I think the fact that Ralph and I both just generally don't like to try and push is probably to our detriment. But every now and then, please just go and subscribe and tell people to subscribe. Log into someone else's account and subscribe from theirs.
So I'm letting you guys know this. I reactivated not only my Facebook account, but all the things that I like, all the pages I have. So this is being broadcast on Live Action Star Wars or Live Action SW on Facebook, on Casino Skunk Productions on Facebook, and Ralph Oppel's personal Facebook feed. So I'm like, I really want this push, and I think it all comes down to Ralph wants to go to London for the next celebration, and let's have the show do that. And we're not asking for any money. Nope. We're not asking for money. We literally just need subscriptions.
Like, get us there. I'm going to be, regardless of whoever else I can get on there with me. I hope that it's Ralph more than anything else, but I'm going to be applying to the podcast stage. Like, I want to get us to have a live show there. And to do that as a mini episode would just not feel right.
I'm sure there's got to be some technology where I can get in there as well.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Even if we just got you on a laptop facing the crowd.
Share the show. If there's anything you like, if there's anything we can do,
yes,
let us know that you think will drum up more subscribers. Maybe we can do a contest or something. I don't know. I can get a signed Rogue One vinyl or something.
We've got different countries covered. I can send things from the UK. You can send things from the States.
I was like overwhelmed by the amount of just like swag at Celebration. Like everyone, even if they, like creators, podcasters, what have you, but also just like random people who want to make stickers and buttons and give stuff out. Like there was just so much of that going on that
I should have made stickers prior, which I could have done, but I'll make sure that happens. I'll get them.
I will get some printed in the UK, and for Celebration next year, I'll have swag. I'll have live action Star Wars swag for people.
All right,
awesome.
I'll create a logo with our web address on it, which is liveactionstarwars.com. You could also reach us on socials at liveactionsw, including Facebook. Facebook is back. Not much is happening there. Everything that you get at all the other socials are being fed into that. So you probably saw this post for this show like 3 or 4 times because it's coming from everywhere. So Facebook is the most active. But if you don't watch YouTube, if you don't like Twitter, then it's another option. It's great.
Cool.
So all of that stuff. Thank you to everybody who's joined us in the chat and hit that like button. Thanks to everybody that subscribes to us on Apple Podcasts or every other podcast feed except for one that won't allow us to be on their thing for some reason, but they're a-holes, so fuck them. But yeah, thank you again, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you, Hunter.
Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, everyone. So until next week, don't give it to hate.
Celebrate the love.
I don't think Ralph is ready for that.
I had the comments open. I didn't have the second thing. Oh, you know how this works now. You've done some of these live shows.
Punch it.